Hello and welcome to another Unexpected Results on the Slyphor channel with another pack of Fate Reforged. We're going to crack into this pack and see what we get. Straight away we have a Cunning strike for 3 blue and red. It's quite high cost for an instant, and it deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to target player and draws a card. So it's yeah, it's a magma jet and a magma spray, I believe. 2 damage to player, 2 damage to creature, and draw a card. But yeah, for 5 it's quite a lot. You're rarely going to hit this, but if it's a game winner, then certainly throw it in there. It's not always likely to be a game winner though. I'm not sure, I probably wouldn't run this, but it's not bad. Again, we'll see when Theros, we will see when Theros goes out if 5-drop is viable once again. Then we have an Irration Cleric. We had one of these in our last pack. It's 1 and a white for a 1/3 human cleric, and when it enters the battlefield you gain 3 life. He's okay, he's not amazing. Doesn't really need the Abzan watermark, he's just a white creature. As a 1/3 you might run him in Abzan, you might run him in Mardu. It's unlikely that you'd run him in Jeskai. It's unlikely that you'd run him in Mardu or Abzan in all honesty, but there you go. He's not amazing, but he's not terrible. Then we have an Abzan Advantage. This looks interesting. 1 and a white, target player sacrifices an enchantment, bolster 1. So it's an enchantment kill, which is always nice in things like Commander, or could be useful in Standard. There's quite a few, like the Siege cycle, the Rune Mark cycle. So there's a good couple of enchantments that will probably be run. The Ascendancy cycle even from Khans. So yeah, there's probably going to be quite a few targets for this. And with bolster 1, which I explained in the last video, it's pretty good for a 2-drop to basically just... It's a shatter with the bolster 1 for 1, and in white rather than red. But yeah, seems real good. Then we have an Aven Surveyor. Another 5-drop. 3 blue this time. For a 2/2 bird scout with flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you choose to either put a 1/1 counter on it, or to return target creature to its owner's hand. So you can, yeah, the 1/1 counter is just a 3/3 for 5 with flying, which again with Theros being in is not great. You can get better 3/3s with flying for cheaper. We can get better 3/3s for cheaper. Don't even necessarily need flying. The bouncer creature is okay. If your opponent literally has 1 creature and you're there about to win, but that 1 creature is stopping you, then that's where this is played. It's a bit corner case, but there you go. This card is a bit corner case until Theros goes out, in which case it might be better. We then have a Typhoid Rat, or Typhoid Rats. There are multiples, even though it is a 1/1 for 1 in black. Creature rat, obviously, and it has Death Touch. So a 1/1 with Death Touch seems easily playable. It seems real good. A better replacement for the Mardu... Oh god, what card is it? Mardu Foe Blade? Mardu Hate Blade? The Mardu Hate Blade, that's the one. Where it's a 1/1 for 1 in white, and you can spend a black to give it Death Touch for the turn. This is just a 1/1 for 1 with default Death Touch. Oh, here we go. The third new rule, Manifest. So this is another really costly instant for 3 green blue, so Temur or Sultai. Well, Simic, but Temur or Sultai is where it's going to be played in the Khans. For an instant that manifests the top 2 cards of your library. Now what Manifest does is you take the top card of your library, you flip it face down onto the... well, you don't flip it, you slide it face down onto the battlefield and put a Manifest token counter on top of it, which looks like this. Very similar to the morph, and in fact it is a kind of morph. It comes in as a 2/2 creature, and if it's a creature, you can flip it up for its mana cost. If it's a land or an enchantment or an instant or a sorcery or an artifact even, if it's not a creature you can't flip it up. So you can't just go, I manifest this card, it's a land, flip it up and play it. You can't do that. If it's manifested and it's not a creature, you can't flip it up. I'm currently looking into whether this works with morph. Say if you flip over a morphed, like the morph land or whatever it is, whether you can flip it up for its morph cost. Because I believe the morph rule literally just says flip this card up for so much mana. Which means morph creatures, you can manifest them down and then morph them up, rather than paying their regular mana cost, if it's then cheaper to morph them. So it seems like an interesting mechanic. It will rattle a couple of cages with the 5-colour morph deck, and it will definitely make things interesting. You might see some Temur morph cards or some 5-colour morph decks. We then have a Goreswine. Goreswine, for a 2 and a red for a 4/1. Seems pretty good. A big hitter but very low defense, so he'll be easily killed by something very small, like the Irashian Cleric. The Irashian Cleric will trade off with this guy nice and happily. So I'm not too sure on this. Obviously if you're running Team of Manifest, he might be worth it, because you can manifest him down and then for 3 flip him up and he gains 2 attack, which is always nice, and you can do that at instant speed. But enough about Manifest. The next card is a Whisperer of the Wilds. For 1 and a green, a 0/2 human shaman that taps to add a green mana to your mana pool. So it's a altered Llanowar elf or elvish mystic, but it also has, this is why it costs 1 more, it has Ferocious, and if you control a creature with 4 power or greater, it taps for 2 green, which then pays for itself. So there you go. It's some decent ramp for Khans, which was desperately needed in the actual Khans set. They needed something like this, and this is it. But with Theros still being in, there are still better things than this, I believe, although it is pretty good. We then have a Mardu Rune Mark. So I talked about the Jeskai Rune Mark last time. This is the same, but in Mardu, so it's 2 and a red, enchantment aura, enchant creature, +2/+2, and gains first strike if you control a white or black permanent. I do like the art on these rune marks, where they've incorporated the clan signal. So with Mardu it's the dragon wings, into like their soldiers. The Jeskai one was it's the monk floating with the eye on his chest. So it's the third eye. But I like the Mardu wings, they're cool. We then have an Ambush Krotuk. So it's a 6-drop, 5/5 with trample as an insect. So 5 and a green for a 5/5 with trample. And when it enters the battlefield, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So if you've active treasoned, you can bounce the creature you've active treasoned in your second main phase back to the opponent's hand. Or you can drop this in, bounce one of their defenders. Oh no, it's a creature you control. You can't bounce their defenders. Ignore that part. You can bounce something you have with an ETB effect. Kind of useful, not particularly. But he's a big thing. He's a big hitter. We then have our first uncommon of a Frostwalker. Another Teamer card. This is a 1 and a white, 1 and a blue. Not sure why I said white. White isn't even in Teamer. 1 and a blue for a creature elemental that is a 4/1. So it's a 1 cheaper Goreswine. And it also has an effect, which is when Frostwalker becomes the target of a spell or ability, you sacrifice it. So it's an illusion, is basically how that goes. It's a frosty elemental illusion. It's okay. It's another big hitter for Teamer. And that's basically what Teamer's about, is ramping into the big hitters. So there you go. We then have a Dragon Surge as our second uncommon. 2 and a red for an instant. Add red mana to your mana pool for each attacking creature you control. Until end of turn, attacking creatures you control gain fire breathing, which is you spend a red, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And you can do that as many times as you want in the turn, or in every turn with regular fire breathing. But with Dragon Surge, it's for the turn, because then at the end of the turn, they lose fire breathing. But that seems really cool. A 3-drop instant that you can then just go, okay, in combat phase, I drop this in, I then have all this mana that I've just generated, which I can then bump Fire Breath onto the one thing you've blocked so that it doesn't die. That's a really handy combat trick. So you can just swing with everything and then go Dragon Surge. Not Dragon Surge, why have I been calling it Dragon Surge? It's called Dragon Rage. Sorry about that. But yeah, it seems like a really cool card. Good for Mardu. Ooh, and then we have a dragon. A Ward Scale Dragon as an uncommon. For 4 white for a 4/4. So it's a 6 for a 4/4. And it flies and is a dragon, which will be probably very common in Dragons of Tarkir set. But as long as Ward Scale Dragon is attacking, defending player can't cast spells. So you can then Dragon Rage without the fear of counters or any other combat tricks from their side. Anything they might play. And then we have a mythic. Ooh. The Temporal Trespass. This is a Sultai card. 8 blue, which is a lot. It's an 11-drop. Sorcery with Delve, which makes it cheaper. It's always nice. And it's take an extra turn after this one. Exile Temporal Trespass. So, it's an extra turn card. We haven't seen one of these in a little while. And it could well see a lot of play in Sultai decks. Sultai decks might become more popular because of it. We never know. But yeah, this is interesting. We don't know how well. I don't know how well it will be played. Sultai isn't my kind of thing, so I'm not sure. We'll see where this goes. And then we have a Scarred Baron with the cool Abzan artwork. And a warrior token. It's quite nice artwork on the warrior token. So, pick of the pack. I believe last video I said room marks were always the pick of the pack, and I have immediately, well not quite immediately, but almost immediately been proven wrong by 2 instances of cards being better in the form of a Typhoid Rat or Dragon Rage. With these 2 cards, I am not really sure which one I'd pick. Typhoid Rats is always a good early game card just to be in there and swinging when you want to, or a defender for basically the whole game as long as he survives. But I think Dragon Rage, with just its sheer usability for just taking advantage of the combat, seems like the pick. This is a really good card. So I believe Dragon Rage will be my pick of the pack. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.